Have you ever brought home a fish from your local fish store and you properly acclimated the fish and you did everything that you could to set it up for success, and when you put it in your reef aquarium, it just swam away and maybe it hid behind the rock work and it just seemed to disappear? Or maybe you're like me and once you've done acclimated your fish and you put them in your aquarium, the other fish in your aquarium just start to pick at him, and just there's so much aggression in the tank that you don't know what's going on. And then the next day you come back and unfortunately that fish did not make it. Well, in today's episode we're going to be talking about a way to give your fish the best chance at not only surviving but thriving in your reef aquarium using one of my favorite reef aquarium products that I believe is a must-have product. It stops fish aggression before it ever gets started. So if you're watching live, thank you so much for being here. If you're catching this video on the replay, maybe you're listening on the podcast, let me know in the comments below what's the newest addition to your reef aquarium. Now, it can be a fish, it can be a coral, maybe you're picking up some macroalgae for your refugium. Let me know what is the newest addition to your reef aquarium. And I mean, you could be looking for a LED reef light. And if you are looking for an LED reef light, I highly recommend Aquatic USA and HM Electronic. They have the Core XP LED light. That's what I'm running over my aquarium. And it's just a great all-around light fixture. It's growing my corals really, really well. And it's even better than a G4 Radeon at a much more affordable price. So if you're looking for an LED light fixture, I will have a link in the description below for that, so go ahead and check that out. But today I want to talk all about the Eshopps Tanklimate. And what I would like to do is share a conversation that I had with Lewis from Eshopps, and he kind of talked about what the Tanklimate is, how to use it, and all the functionality behind it, because it's more than just an acclimation box. There is a lot more to it and a lot more functionality. So as we take a look at this conversation, I'm going to jump in and out of the conversation and go a little bit deeper on the Tanklimate, because it's a product that I use and love. And anytime I talk about a product here on the Coral Reef Talk, it's to share it with you reef fanatics out there in the Coral Reef Talk community, because I'm here to help support and help make you a more successful, better reef keeper. And one way that I like to do that is sharing products with you that I really enjoy. So today, let's jump right into this conversation that I had with Lewis, and let's get started. You have the Tanklimate and you have the Biolux. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Tanklimate?
So the Tanklimate is the acclimation box. And basically everybody has the same problem. Every time they have a new fish coming into the tank, they get intimidated by others. They get picked sometimes too. So the idea is to, after they do the dripping method and get used to the water chemistry, is to actually have them in the little box like this one and acclimate them to the other ones by seeing, by smelling them, and then you can release it. Based on my experience, I would say 3 to 5 days, and then you can release it in the tank. They're not going to fight with each other, and also at the same time you make sure the fish is actually eating properly, because it's a big issue too. When you release a fish, even if it doesn't get picked on it, there's always a chance that it's not eating properly yet, and then try to catch a fish out of a reef tank. It's normally a mission impossible. So you need to make sure that he's actually acclimated to the other fish and also eating properly, and the acclimation box will do that for you. But also you can use it as...
So before he gets to the next part of how you can use the Tanklimate, I think it's a really good point that you can use this to, well, you use the acclimation box to monitor your fish, and you can leave them in there 3 to 5 days. And I have done that before, and it's perfectly fine. It's a good way to see your fish, to monitor them up close, to take a look at their fins, to see if there might be any parasites or anything wrong with them. Check out their gills, make sure they're eating properly, like he had mentioned. And that's one thing too. Like when we go to the local fish store to check out a fish, we may go in there with every intention to just pick up some dry goods or something, or maybe we're just looking for test kits or something, but then we gravitate towards the fish and we're like, okay, I want that fish, and we maybe not inspect the fish properly or long enough to look at the fins and everything with the fish, or we don't ask to see if the fish is eating well. Purchase that fish, take it home, then acclimate it and put it right in the tank. Well, using a Tanklimate, you have the ability to sit back and monitor that fish and actually see if that fish is going to eat, see how the fish is doing before you ever put it into your aquarium. So let me know in the comments, do you use an acclimation box? Do you use a Tanklimate? Let me know in the comments if this is what you do when you're adding fish to your aquarium, or maybe you have a quarantine tank that you have set up that you monitor your fish, but not everyone can go that route and not everyone has a quarantine tank. So using an acclimation box is a great way to monitor your fish. So let's jump right back into it.
If you buy some frag racks, so this is the medium size. This is very easy to operate. You remove the lead, and then you have these dividers that can be removed easily by hand. But on the bottom, you can actually put a frag rack that comes with the Tanklimate. So you put this adjusting with rods, and you put this on the bottom, and you can put the frags when you buy the frags, so the fish don't nip on it. So this way, you can actually buy expensive frags, let them grow a little bit on your new tank, water chemistry, everything, and then you can actually later on move them into the water, but into the rocks.
Yeah, that's very neat. You're able to not only acclimate fish to your aquarium, but you can do frags as well. Make sure no fish are going to pick at your frags, and then keep your fish healthy. I like that this one has the partition or the walls in between. Absolutely. So you can put in multiple fish, see how they react to each other as well.
And also different sizes, because if you have a little slider, bigger fish, you're going to give him a little bit extra room, and you can open the box all the way, and then he has more space. So these Tanklimates are all, the medium and the small, are all up to 1/2 inch thickness. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's glass or acrylic, but they work really well up to 1/2 inch.
Yeah, so that's another good point, is that the acclimation box works really well up to 1/2 inch, acrylic or glass. The magnets are super strong. Let me know in the comments if the audio is a little bit better. I turned down the background music. But yeah, using it as a frag rack, you can use the Tanklimate as a frag rack. It comes with a piece that you put inside the Tanklimate, and you can also use that in a different way as well, which we'll cover a little bit later. But yeah, trying to catch fish in your aquarium, if you acclimate them to your tank, you put them in your aquarium without using an acclimation box or the Tanklimate, and then you notice a problem with them, it is really, really difficult to get them out. And I know that there are traps, fish traps, and different devices that you can use to catch a fish, but it does take a lot of effort, and it's really, really hard. And the good thing about a Tanklimate is that it is already there for you to monitor your fish. Your fish is right there. So if anything happens, you can easily take them right back out. Maybe you need to return them to the fish store or something like that. The fish is right there and it's good to go. So let's continue here.
The other thing you can do is you can put anemones in there. You can put live shrimp. You can put anything in there and protect it from some more aggressive fish. So you can utilize this acclimation box for a lot of things, and the price point is a good surprise. I have to mention that because these days, the hobby is not a very it's not a very cheap hobby, as we normally say it. And every fish counts. So when you buy 1 or 2 fish, this box is already paid for it, and you can use it for fresh or salt water. It doesn't matter. But this definitely, after 1 or 2 fish, this box is paid off, and you should.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too, is that this thing is going to be with you for the long haul. You're going to be able to use this all the time. Now, I recommend getting the medium size one. That's the one that has the different dividers and the partition. In there, you can bring home more fish, monitor more fish in the Tanklimate that way. The one you just saw there on the screen, or if you're listening on the podcast, there is a small version of this as well, and it does not have the dividers. So you can only do maybe a couple fish or one fish at a time with that, but I highly recommend the Tanklimate medium. That's the one that I use, and it has the dividers. I don't know if he mentioned, I think he already mentioned it in the interview here. I might have missed it, but he talked about having bubble tip anemones in the Tanklimate. And it's funny because I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes here. I just recently had to get an anemone out of the reef tank and put him in the, well, not out of the reef tank, but I had to move him to the Tanklimate because, as you know, may or may not know, anemones can walk around on you. They can move. So for years, I've had this group of anemones pretty much in the same spot. When I transferred the 210 gallon to this 125, I tried to keep them on the right side of the tank, and they enjoyed it. They were happy. And I have a Nero 5 pump over there that's keeping that water flow. Now I usually have that set to a pulsing wave, so it's going from 0 to 100, and it's rocking those anemones back and forth, and they enjoy it and they stay in their spot, and they've been happy until recently when I had some kind of connection error, some Wi-Fi connection error or something to the pump, and it turned off. Well, I didn't realize that that pump had turned off because on the other side of the tank, I have a Nero 3 and the Higer wave maker over there pushing water and the return pumps. So I didn't really notice anything until the anemones didn't look like they were moving like they normally do. And so then I saw one starting to walk. He walked to the center of the aquarium. He got on the toadstool coral and he was going around. He was like doing laps around the toadstool coral. So because he was on the toadstool coral and a little bit against the back acrylic, I was able to get him off quite easy. And there he is right there. If you're watching live here, you can see him on screen, but it's an anemone in the Tanklimate, and he's been in there ever since, and he just keeps walking around the box. But the cool thing about this is if you have a Tanklimate, you're able to get things out of your aquarium that may potentially cause an issue, like this anemone, and it can be moved on, sold, or given away to another hobbyist for them to enjoy. So that's another really neat thing. So we'll jump right back into the video here.
Keep it for a very, very long time and do this as a procedure. The same way we acclimate to the water chemistry, let's acclimate our fish to the to the residents already, and then they don't fight, they eat better. It's overall, it's just a very good gadget to have. And also, I want to mention the beautiful design, because that's all about Eshopps. It's the design too. We are very careful. We are very careful about that. So it's our brand, the logos, the design, but also to work very, very easily. As I showed, I mean, this comes in and out by hands, and there you go. You can put 3 fish, and then the lid just goes on top like this, and then you close it easily. Has a little O-ring to create enough pressure here, just to keep it closed when you submerge it. Also, the frags. Let's say you already have frags that are acclimated to the tank and everything else. You can actually put it on the lid too. So you can keep it there. If you know you're going to keep the fish there for a while, you can actually put corals also or frags on top. So multiple functions for a small gadget. It's a great product.
Oh yeah, and that's a big deal. It's not just a glass box that you're acclimating fish into. You can acclimate fish. You can have coral. I noticed some algae in there. You can have like a little refugium.
Yes, you can also do a small refugium, create some cocopods inside. I mean, it's an endless possibilities that you have with this box. It's definitely something. It's a good gadget to have. it's a must-have, I would say, and you can move it around because it's magnets. So it's definitely a good option, and for the price point, you can't get any better in the market.
Yeah, and when we were talking off camera, you were telling me how the blue partitions and the bottom actually help the fish not be as stressed because it's not just clear all the way around.
Yes, so it's another small detail, but that makes a huge difference. All these partitions were actually made in blue on purpose. When you put a fish inside the acclimation box, he's very stressed. So what you want to do is you want to create some safety area in the back where he can actually take a deep breath, and within an hour, you'll probably be okay, but it takes them a while. So they don't want to be in direct contact with the other fish that are probably smelling the new gadget inside the tank. So we want to create them a little spot for the first couple hours where they can rest and kind of catch up on their breath, and then they start swimming around. So these are made on purpose so they don't see each other, and just to make it easy on the fish. So everything has a plan. This we put almost 2 years in, believe it or not, almost 2 years to develop this product. It seems very easy and simple now, but we try a lot of different things, and we just hope we can help the industry, really.
Yeah, and that's really cool. Like everything with the Tanklimate has a purpose, a function, a plan set in mind. Now, if you're getting value for this content, be sure to hit the like button if you're watching over on YouTube, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel or following the podcast if you're listening over there. G Noor says, love the content and videos, by the way. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you for being here live. But yes, the Tanklimate with those partitions are great. I mean, we'll jump into it a little bit more. I'll show it off a little bit more, but with those partitions, you can change things out to have a larger fish in there with a smaller fish. Just so much functionality with the Tanklimate, and so much thought was put into this. And that's really what makes it my favorite acclimation box out there, is everything that you can do for it, the functionality behind it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And with the versatility of the product, I think you guys hit it right on the money with that one. It's a great product.
yeah, so here I was about to go into their BioLux product that they have. If you'd like to check out this video in its full entirety, I have the links in the description below. But now, keeping it on point with the Tanklimate, I want to share this right here. So taking a look at the Tanklimate, it's a clear box with a blue bottom, and it's got two dividing walls that you can put into it. And like I said, you can make one side, you can use it without the dividing walls if you have a larger fish, or you can divide it up in 3 parts, or have just one in there for a large section and a small section. Now, touching back on the point he made about corals, if you bring your corals home from your local fish store, you put them right in your tank, maybe fish will nip at it, maybe they'll fall over, maybe they won't do as well because you put them in a different lighting intensity. Any of those things can happen with the Tanklimate. You give your corals a chance to kind of get adjusted to adapt to your tank parameters without falling over, or without fish messing with them, or crabs or shrimp, anything messing with your corals. You can set up these 3 pegs here, and they just screw right into the bottom. And then once you put those in and tighten them down, you just grab the frag rack. And by the way, this frag rack has a lot of holes in it for multiple frag plugs. I mean, a lot of times you see frag sticks that have like 6 or 12 spots for frags, unless you're doing an entire frag tank. In my opinion, this is great to have because one, you can use it for however much time you need for your corals, and then you can remove the box so you don't have frag racks in your main display. But also with this, you can set up the frag rack underneath. You can do some chaeto algae, some macro algae if you want to do a little refugium, get some copepods going, and they're going to be protected in there. Very versatile. You can do all 3, the little refugium, your corals, and have a fish acclimating in there all at the same time if you wanted to, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so with that lid on there too, that O-ring on the top, the fish are not gonna take that lid off. That secures it to the box, and it's a nice tight fit with that thing on there. But continuing on with the Tanklimate, it's just a lot that you can do. Let's say that you maybe you want to change it up a little bit. You don't want the corals inside the Tanklimate. That's easy. You can just unscrew this pin here, and it comes right out, and then you're back to your Tanklimate, your acclimation box with the dividers in it. So that functionality of it is already pretty nice to have, but it gets even better than that. So let's say you go pick up some corals, and one thing that happens to us is we go to the fish shop. Like I was saying earlier, you get distracted. Maybe you went there for a different reason. You get distracted by fish, corals. You buy a bunch of corals, you buy a few fish, you bring them home, and you haven't really decided where you're going to put those corals yet. But you need to acclimate your fish as well. Well, you can set up your partitions here, divide it into 3, put your 3 different fish in there, and then you can take those mounts that we talked about earlier and put them on top. There's 3 holes on top of the Tanklimate and 3 holes inside. So it's very versatile where you're going to put the frags. So if you don't know where you're going to put your corals, you can just mount the coral frag rack on top of the Tanklimate here, and now you have a coral holder and a Tanklimate acclimation box all in one. So let me know what you think about the Tanklimate right now in the comments below. If you're here live, if you're listening on the podcast, let me know as well in the comments. This is one of my favorite products, really, and it's due to all the different things that you can do for it or with it. I'm going to skip ahead in this video here because let's say your fish come down with ick or some kind of parasite in your tank and you need to take them out. It's happened to me on the 210-gallon tank. I had to get in there and remove all the fish, and it was a big ordeal. I had to take all of them out, put them in a quarantine tank, and treat them in a quarantine tank. And then once I thought that they were past the parasite, and once I thought that they were ready to go and I could put them back in the tank, I made a point to use the Tanklimate. So I'm going to skip through here and show you kind of what that looks like and what fish that I used for it. So I had a sailfin tang, a couple clownfish. The clownfish I still have to this day, filefish. But you can see here, with the magnets, you can put it higher in the tank or lower in the tank too, kind of skipping around there. But you can move it around with the magnets. So if you don't want to get your hands wet, you can move it around. But you can see the fish here, 2 clownfish, a 6-line wrasse, and a sailfin tang on the left side, and then a filefish on the right side. Let's see if I can get to that part of the video. But here's moving it with the magnets right here. It's pretty easy to do, so that's a really neat thing as well. So you don't have to reach down in your tank to get that. And let me find that clip for you real quick. But I mean, you can kind of get the idea here that you're able to monitor your fish safely and easily with this acclimation box, and you can separate them. And that's really the main thing for me, is that you can keep the fish separated. I have 4 fish on one side and 1 fish here on the right side. So Tanklimate all around my favorite product to use when you're introducing a new fish to your aquarium. One other thought on that is that using a Tanklimate is not only helping your new fish be introduced to the tank, but it's helping all the fish in your aquarium get used to the new fish. So if you add a fish to your aquarium without a box, it's going to go in and get picked on and may not make it because territories have been set up. Fish have their own spot in the reef tank already. And so they're like, what is this new guy doing here? He needs to get out. So having the Tanklimate will really help his other tank mates. See what I did there? His tank mates get used to him and kind of sense what this new guy's doing and just overall like understand and know that there's a new fish in the tank. So after a few days, 3 to 5 days, you release your new fish. More than likely, no more fish aggression. The fish, unless you're putting in fish that are not compatible, you're going to have no fish aggression. They're going to be used to each other already. They'll be able to see this fish, know its tendencies. This fish still be able to know or see the tank mate's tendencies and still work things out. Now, you may release the fish and it may go and hide still. That's perfectly normal. Fish, he's in a new spot. He doesn't really know what's going on, but this gives him the best chance at thriving in your reef tank from the beginning. No more aggression. Pick up a Tanklimate. I will leave links in the description to both of the videos that I've shared with you today, so you can check those out whenever you would like. And also, have you guys heard of the new AI software that's been trending everywhere online? You can't get away from OpenAI or ChatGPT. If you haven't heard about that, I made a video about that as well, and how that could potentially help the aquarium hobby by seeing if it can tell me how to do a water change. So if you want to check out that video, you can click or tap the screen right over here. Thank you so much for being here live, listening on the podcast, and supporting the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.